This conference
delegates
will
and
now be
speaker.
recorded.
In today's free lecture on ulcerative colitis, a case study by Dr. Aparna Sate Madam. So before starting today's session, I would request all the participants to kindly turn their mics and cameras on off mode so that you don't disturb the meeting. Also join with your name while joining the meeting. If there are any questions or queries regarding today's lecture, put it in the chat box, which will be answered at the end of the meeting. So from tomorrow also, we are coming up with our next 20th lecture series on Vaishajam Part 2 on medicine preparations. We have got a lecture series of 10 different subjects such as Moravla preparations, Bilvavaliya preparations, Suvarnaprasham preparations, Shatavari Kalpa preparations, Haridra Khanda preparations, and many more topics will be covered in the 10 days lecture series. So those participants who are willing to join can do register for it and join with us for Vaishajam Part 2 Ayurvedic Medicine Preparations lecture series. So I would like to take this an opportunity to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Aparna Sate Madam. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome Dr. Aparna Sate Madam. Dr. Aparna Sate Madam has completed her MD in Kaya Chikitsa from Mittal Ayurvedic College. Madam is recently working as a reader, associate professor in Department of Kaya Chikitsa at YMT Ayurvedic Medical College, Argar, Navi Mumbai. She has got vast experience in treating skin disease, in diabetes, in cardiac disease also. Madam is recently pursuing her PhD from Arepodar Ayurvedic College. Madam's area of interest are skin disease, diabetes, cardiac disease, diabetic nephropathy, and many more. Madam has conducted various guest lectures on ER platform also in hypothyroidism series and in Madhumantan lecture series on management of Prameha. Also, she has delivered various guest lectures in many national and international conferences. She has published 25 research articles in international journals. So, I hereby welcome the most talented, experienced speaker, Dr. Aparna Sati Madam, to share her views on ulcerative colitis, a case study. Over to you, Dr. Aparna Sati Madam.
Hello. Good afternoon, one and all. Thank you, Dr. Amit, for kind words. First of all, I would like to thank all the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge with the knowledge seekers. And I also congratulate the team of Ayushala for successful conduction of this series of lectures. So today we are going to discuss a case study on ulcerative colitis. Basically, when we say ulcerative colitis, it is a chronic inflammatory bowel disease in which there is abnormal reactions of the immune system which causes inflammation and ulcers on the inner lining of the large intestine. Ulcerative colitis is said to be a challenging disease to manage because it has got unexplained origin. It is like it is it means it has got acute exacerbation and remissions. So it's a remitting and relapsing disease. Drug dependency is there, and even drug resistance is also present in ulcerative colitis, and that makes this disease to be more challenging to treat. This disease typically affects individuals in the second or third decade of their life with hallmark of clinical symptoms with bloody diarrhea, and there is rectal urgency with tenesmus. The clinical course is marked by, as I said, exacerbations and remissions. And the diagnosis of ulcerative colitis, it is based on the clinical presentation and symptoms consistent with the disease and findings of the colonoscopy or sigmoidoscopy showing continuous colonic inflammation starting in the rectum and may traverse all along the path of the colon or the path of a descending colon. The pathological finding of chronic colitis confirm the diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. According to Ayurveda, we can correlate this ulcerative colitis with Pravahika. There are various controversies regarding nomenclature or comparison of ulcerative colitis with the Ayurvedic entity. Few says it is Brahmani, according to few it's Pravahika. But for me, it's like I would prefer it correlating with Pravahika. As Pravahika, according to Ayurveda, is defined as accumulated kapha proteins downwards frequently mixed with small quantities of feces with tenesmus due to aggravation of the Vata dosha. So first we will start with the details of the case. So this is a case of 10-year-old female residing at Khadar. She is a student, unmarried, and the history is given by the patient and of course by the mother of the patient. That is the OPD number. And when patient came to me, her height was 100 centimeter and weight was 20 kg. So the clinical manifestations presented by the participant or the individual was there was increased frequency of motions with tenesmus. Tenesmus is nothing what we called as Krute Aprut Savyata. So it is with tenesmus since 7 to 8 months. There was failure to try and typically patient was complaining about sometimes watery motions, sometimes semi-solid motions with mucus and visible food since 4 to 5 days. There was mild fever on and off. There was griping abdominal pain on and off since 6 months. As we go on to the history of the illness, patient was apparently normal 2 years back, but abruptly she started having complaints of episodes of watery loose motions, physical blood. There was also pain in abdomen on and off since 6 months, and the pain was mostly was while during passing stools. As patient given a history, she said she is suffering from recently recurrently since March 2017. And in view of above complaints, she underwent colonoscopy and was diagnosed with grade 3 ulcerative colitis. And initially, she has been treated symptomatically by using oral steroids in a dose of 1 milligram per kg per day. And she used to feel some relief after taking steroids for time being. Then she used to visit nearby clinics for on and off complaints of loose motions or pain in abdomen, and there she used to be prescribed with oral NSAIDs with antibiotic injections. So when we confirmed the clinical checking, she was known or the detected case of ulcerative colitis. There was no evident family history or there was no any surgical history or medical history. Family history was nil. Patient was completely vegetarian, but only thing was excessive indulgence in junk food because of her small age. Then sleep was proper, appetite was poor, and the micturition was normal. It was 4 to 5 times per I guess there was a lot of disturbance in the voice. Hope now it's clear.
Yes, madam. It's clear now. Hello.
One sec, I'm adjusting
Madam,
this
you can
mic so that
continue, madam.
now it's okay. Now it's okay. Hello. 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 Yeah, now is it fine? Okay. Sorry for the disturbance. So, as I said, when we confirmed the clinical checking, the bowel habits was 4 to 5 episodes, and there was feeling of incomplete evacuation, and most of the time, stool used to be watery, and sometimes it used to be with mucus, and most of the time it used to be with blood, and there was no any history of addiction. Then, when we checked on the personal history, the weight of the patient was pushed, nourishment was poor, pulse was 80 per minute, BP was 100 by 70, respiratory rate was 18, tongue was coated, there was pallor present, edema was not present, nails were normal, there were no evidence of clubbing, there was no icterus, and there were no lymphadenopathy. As I said, we did the complete clinical examination. Respiratory sounds were normal. There were no added sound. Bilateral air entry was clear. Heart sounds S1, S2 were normal. There were no added sound. When we did the abdominal examination, there was tenderness, and tenderness was maximum at epigastric and paraumbilical region. When we did the extensive Srotas parikshan, we could find Agnimanjay in Annava Srotas, we could find Jwar, Daurbalya and Pandu in regard to Rasava Srotas, and in contrast to Purishva Srotas, there were Udarshu, there were Sarapta, Sakapa, Malapravritti. So when we think about the Ayurvedic perspective, so whatever diarrheal disorders are there, they has been narrated under three heads according to Ayurveda, that is Atisar, Pravahika and Grahan. So amongst that, Atisar is said to be acute in nature, or we called it as Ashukari, and Pravahika is acute, but at the time passes, it gets converted into Chirakari Vyadhi, and Grahani is said to be always chronic in nature, or it is said to be Chirakari Vyadhi. So when we think in terms of Ayurveda, Atisar, Pravahika and Grahani, we should be able to differentiate it on the basis of clinical symptoms. So as the means as far as Atisar is concerned, the basic cardinal feature of Atisar is said to be Bahudrava Saranam. So it is Bahudrava Saranam initially, and in latter stage it becomes Dravamatra Nissaranam. That means initially in cases of Atisar, there is Bahudrava Saran at initial stage, and in latter stage it literally becomes Dravamatra Nissaranam. So in case of Atisar, the episodes of stool or the malavegas are increased, and even quantity of the mal is increased. So what we can say, the Atisar as an uncontrolled uncontrolled watery motions, and it's like when we see regarding the Nivrutti Lakshanas of Atisar, it is mentioned that Yasya Ucharam Vina Mutram Samyak Vayusya Kashyati Diptogne Lagukostasya Stitasya Tasya Uttaramaya. So in case of Atisar, it is said that the motions are so uncontrolled that patient passes stool even by passing urine, or sometimes even with passing of bladder, is unable to control the stool. So when we say the Atisar is cured, or when Acharyas have described specifically regarding Nivritti Lakshan of Atisar, he has specified that the person who can control or who can pass the urine or flatus without passing stool, that means he has recovered from Atisar, and that is called as Atisar Nivritti Lakshan. So that is about the Atisar. The Malavegas are more, quantity is more, and Bahudrava Saranam, and in latter stage, Drava Matra Nissaranam is the cardinal feature of Atisar. When it comes to Pravahika, as I said, Pravahika is defined as accumulated kapha, which means in Pravahika, the accumulated kapha propels downwards, frequently mixed with small quantity of pieces with tenesmus by aggravated vata. So, in case of Pravahika, kapha matra nissaranam is a cardinal feature. And when we think about Pravahika, the one more important feature of Pravahika is Krute api akrutta saunyata. Means patient is like, even the patient passes the stool, he feels that he has loaded rectum. So Krute api akrutta saunyata is a cardinal symptom of Pravahika. And in case of Pravahika, the Malavegas or episodes are more, but the quantity is less. In case of Atisa, both are increased. Vegas also increase and quantity also increase. In case of Pravahika, Vegas are increased but quantity is less. So when we think about Pravahika, it is like Udbhavsthana of Pravahika is said to be Amashay. So whatever Prakriti Kledak curve is there in Amashay, due to Vikrut Vata, it gets dragged into Pakvashay, and due to Ruksha Guna of Vata, the Pichilta of a Kapha gets reduced and it becomes more stan. And due to this stanata, it gets stuck to the Pakvashay, and body tries to remove it out. And in order to get rid of that stanna curve, body makes pravahan, and due to that pravahan again vata gets more vitiated, or it gets more aggravated, and that again increases tanata, and that way the vicious cycle goes on in case of pravahika. So basically in case of pravahika, what we have to keep in mind is Krutyapi or Saupnyata, and then Kaphamatra Nissaran, increase episodes, that is increase Malavegas and decrease quantity. Then the third entity in the diarrheal disorders according to Ayurveda is Grahani. So we define Grahani as Sadushta Bahusho Guptam Amam Eva Vimunchati Pakvam Va Sarujam Uti Muhurbaddam Muhurdravam. So, in case of Grahani, the Malavegas are less, but the quantity is more. One of the cardinal feature of of Grahani, it is said that Sanchayacha Upavishyate. That means mala first get accumulated and then it gets released out of the body. Sanchayacha Upavishyate is one of the cardinal feature of Grahani. And as I said, Muhurbadda, Muhurdrava, Pakva, Saruja, Puti, these are the typical or the specific manifestation of the Grahani. So these are the three diarrheal entities according to Ayurveda. So, as I've said, in Atisa there is Dravamatra Nissaran, so chances of dehydration or Rasakshay are more in case of Atisa. In case of Pravahika, due to excessive Pravahan, there is Daurvalya, there is Glani, and you can see the symptoms like Pindikogestion and all in case of Pravahika. And when it comes to Grahani, the weight loss and the stomatitis are the most predominant features in case of Grahani. So that way we can clinically differentiate between Atisa, Pravahika and Grahani. So again here I have described the संप्राप्ति of Pravahika Vayuhu Pravritto Nichitam Balasam Nudati Adaha Tat Ahitashanasya Pravahato Alpam Bahusho Malaktam Pravahikam Tam Pravadanti Tadnyaham. So whatever apathyakar ahar vihar or ideological factors are there, due to that hetu there is dushti of kletak kaf in amashay, and there is dushti of saman vayu which is agni samipastam, and that kletak kaf gets dragged to the pakvashay due to dryness of vata, that pichilta of kapha gets reduced and it becomes more stank, and that stank of gets stuck to the intestinal linings, and body tries to get rid of that kapha by doing pravahan, and due to that there is a vitiation of apan vayu, which is responsible for evacuation of the stool, and due to that excessive pravahan or excessive force which is applied to get rid of that sticky mucus, there is more of a vata prabhu, and that way that again causes vitiation of the uh, vata, and the vicious cycle goes on. So when we discuss in brief the Samprapti Ghatak, vitiation of Agni by the uh, internal and environmental causative factors, those which are involved in case of Pravahika, there are Vata, Pitta, dominant three doshas, and even Vedaka Pushti is there. Dushya is Rasa Rakta, Srotas is Purishva Srotas and Annava Srotas, Srotodushti is Adi Pravrutti Janya Vyadhi. When we think about the Roga Marga, it is Madhyam Margashit Vyadhi. Agni involved are both Jatharagni and Dhatuagni. Udbhavsthani is Amashay, Vyaktisthani is Pakvashay. And when it comes to Sadhya Sadhyata, it is Super Sadhya in initial stage, and in Jirna Avastha, it becomes Pashta Sadhya. Again, I have make a brief chart regarding the differential diagnosis between three diarrheal diseases according to Ayurveda, that is Atisa, Pravahika, and Brahmani. So, as I said, the nature of a case of Atisa, it is mainly Dravamatra Nisaranam or Bahudrava Saranam. In case of Pravahika, it is with mucus and sometimes with blood. And in regard to Grahani, it is Sama, Pakva, Durgandhit, Va, Pakva, Drava, Va, Baddha. So either it is like Sama and Pakva Durgandhit or Pakva Drava or Baddha. So that is the typical nature of stool in case of Grahani. As I said, Atisar is Ashukari, Pravahika, initially it is Ashukari, then it becomes Chirakari, Grahani is always Chirakari. Malaved, that is episodes are more in case of Atisar and Pravahika. Grahani, their episodes are less. Quantity of the mal is more in case of Atisar, it is less in Pravahika, and Grahani, as I said, Sanchayat Choparishate, so quantity is obviously more. So, what are the other symptoms which are present in Atisar? Atisaran, that is increased frequency is the main symptom. In case of Pravahika, Pravahan and Krutyapi Akrut Samyata, and in case of Grahani, it is Muhurbadha Muhurdrava. Then when we come to the other symptoms, Rasakshay Lakshan, dehydration symptoms are present in case of Atisa. Even in Pravahika, we can get those dehydration symptoms, but Grahani, it is less likely to get. The other symptoms of Atisar includes Daurbalya, Rasakshay. In case of Pravahika, it is Pentecost, and in case of Grahani, there is Mukhapak, Bharakshay, and sometimes there is tenderness in the abdomen. So when we come to the Ayurvedic management or the Samanya Chikitsa Sutra about Pravahika, it is mentioned that Vata Shleshma Vibandeva Kapeva Atisravati Api Shule Pravahikayam Va Pichabasting Prayojayat. So Pichabasti uh, is the main line of treatment which has been described as a Samanya Chikitsa Sutra of Pravahika. We have Makranisaran or we have Atisravan. That time in Pravahika we have to go for Pichabasti. Down here I have given you a scientific reference for Pichabasti, that is Adraihi कुक्षैः सम्परिवेष्टितानि दुग्धानि अथवा आर्द्राणि शाल्मलीना पक्वानि सम्यक् कूटपाकयोगेन क्वथ्यतेभ्यो रसम् आददित् क्षीरं श्रुतं तैलैर्मिश्रं कल्केन यष्टिमधुकस्य वापि वस्तिर्विद्यात् भिषक्प्रमदितः Pravahika Mutra Purusha Sange. So in case of Pravahika, when we have to control the Mutra and Purusha, we have to go for Pichabasti, and as I described, it contains Shalmali Ras, Yashti Madhu, Kalka Siddha Dugdha, we can use Taila plus Gluta, and we have to administer this Pichavasi till the outgrowth of Purish is achieved. Now, in regard to the investigations in this present case, this is the reports of the biochemistry. We have done CTC. Our patient has come out with these reports. Her HB was 9.9, ESR was 26. Then there was dominance of lymphocytes 34, monocytes were 5. USG abdomen was revealing mildly enlarged reactive mesenteric lymph nodes. SGOT, SGPT was normal. And we could come across a new marker for the diagnosis, and it was calprotectin. So, I have given below the description for the calprotectin. It is a calcium binding protein which is secreted predominantly by neutrophils and monocytes. It is used as a direct measure of inflammation in the gut and has a relatively high specificity and sensitivity for distinguishing between non-inflammatory bowel disease and inflammatory bowel disease. We will come to this later, what is inflammatory bowel syndrome and what is inflammatory bowel disease. So, with the help of calprotectin, we are able to differentiate between IBS and IBD, that is irritable bowel syndrome and inflammatory bowel disease. So other condition in which this calprotectin can be found raised are neoplasia, that is malignancy in case of polyps, and sometimes with the excessive use of NSAIDs we can get this calprotectin level high. Normal range, as I've said, it is less than 50, and in this patient we could find the level up to 163 milligram per gram. This is the investigation report of the patient. On 11th May, she underwent colonoscopy, and as we are able to see, the rectum was showing ulceration. There was loss of normal vasculature, and there was fragility. Sigmoid colon also we could see ulceration. There was loss of normal vasculature and fragility. Descending colon also we could see ulceration. Transverse ascending colon was normal. Ileocecal junction and cecum were normal. Ileum was normal. So the impression of colonoscopy was ulcerative colitis, Mayo grade 3, and then even histopathology has been performed for the patient, and it was revealing inflammatory bowel disease with feature of ulcerative colitis. So histopathology report was confirming ulcerative colitis. So after reviewing all her reports and the clinical picture, uh, this was the line of treatment which was adopted. So on 25th of October, she had come with the complaints of increased frequency and stool stained with blood since 4 to 5 days. There was history of mild fever, and even she has some cold and cough. So treatment administered for that period was Mustashunti Vati 250 milligram 2 tablet twice a day, Uttaj Ghanavati 250 milligram 1 BD, Chandrakala was given in a dose of 250 milligram twice a day, Sanjeevani Vati was given, and Bilbawaleha 2 gram BD was advocated to the patient. Then on 28/10 again the treatment was changed to Futtach Parpati because motions were not reduced with the help of Futtach Ghana. So we switch over to Futtach Parpati Vati, capsule Nebarid of Charak Pharmaceutical. Bilbawaleha was continued, and then Takrarishta was added to the patient, and even Shatavari granules were given with warm water. Then maybe approximately after 3 weeks, patient came for follow-up, and that time frequency of motion was decreased. Stool stained with blood, means blood in the stool also was decreased. There was mild fever, and there was rise in cold and cough. So that time the treatment given was Uttaj Ghanavati, Mustashunti Vati, Chandrakala Ras, and Yashti Madhukrut was added at that time, and it was given for next 15 days. Then again in the month of December, patient had come with watery motions, abdominal pain, and nausea was there. That time treatment given was Kutaj Ghanavati, Sanjeevni, Ampachak and Mustashon. Then patient again after maybe 7 or 10 days again came with abdominal pain and sticky stool. So with view of oral treatment not helping her much, we started with Pichavasi once her fever was down. She was not in any active inflammatory stage. So, and even proctitis was not there. We have confirmed that, and then we started with the Pichavasi, and we give Pichavasi for 7 days. Then on 27th of with Icha Basti for 7 days, she got like moderate relief, and nearly she had lost follow-up for a period of a month. But again on 27th of Jan, she came up with Shitapurvak Jwara, Atisar, Udarshul, and Adman was there. We did USG to see whether any colitis like thing is there, and USG was normal. And we also looked for abdominal coughs because fever was not subsiding. So for that purpose, we did sonography that time to see whether there are any evidences of abdominal coughs or any mesenteric lymph nodes to suggest the tuberculosis, but USG was normal. Then on 10th of Feb, when patient complained about this pitching malapravrutti and pain increase, then we stopped Ichabasti and we administer again Mustashumbi, Sanjeevni, Bilvavaleha, and that time we added Dhanya Panchak and Pathyadi Kadam. And then after this line of treatment, patient was comfortable for 5 to 6 months, and she came for follow-up in the month of August, and there were no fresh complaints. She was completely relieved of loose motions. She was completely relieved of abdominal pain. She was completely relieved of gaseous distension. So that time we started her with the Rohan treatment. We administered Raghumalini Vasanta, Tapyadi Loho, and we gave syrup hepatoglobulin, Dhatri Loho, and Dadi Mamleho. Then, after we started this treatment in August, again in December, patient complained about the pain in abdomen and there were dry stools. So, we started with Kambudavati and Shankhavati, and we gave her Gandharva Haritaki Churna. And as stool were dry, we gave Jatyadi Tel Matra Basti for 7 days. So that was the line of treatment which we gave to that patient. We will see the mode of action of all of these drugs, how this would have helped to cure the disease. Before that, we'll try to understand the ulcerative colitis according to modern perspectives. So, as I said earlier, ulcerative colitis, it is a long-term condition which results in inflammation and ulcers of colon or rectum. And the cardinal symptoms of the active disease is a rectal bleeding with passage of mucus and bloody diarrhea. It is often associated with abdominal cramps and tenesmus. There is emotional stress, intercurrent infection is also there in case of ulcerative colitis, anorexia, malaise, weight loss, and patient can be toxic with fever. And sometimes there can be a small volume of fluid stools. This can affect any age group, but incidence is more in second or third decade of life. There is no gender discrepancy. Male and female are equally prone to get this disease. Any ethnic group can get this disease. As I said, etiological factors, they are unknown, but to like there are certain theories that there is some involvement of genetic factors and environmental factors, and it is considered that the HLA-DR2 or chromosome 1 and 4, they are like positive factors and they are responsible for occurrence of ulcerative colitis. These genes are supposed to be responsible for mucosal barrier function and abnormal immune response, and therefore they are found to be responsible for susceptibility of ulcerative colitis. And when we say pathophysiology, these multiple gene factors and environmental factors, they disturb the intestinal microbiota dysbiosis, and that leads to dysregulated immune response, and that is the probable pathophysiology of the disease. As I said, complications of ulcerative colitis, it can be a megacolon. Megacolon is an abnormal dilatation of the colon accompanied by paralysis of the segment of the intestine, and due to that abnormal dilatation, there is consolidation of the feces and the fecal mass is formed, and that is called as fecal tumor, and a surgical intervention can be required to remove this fecal tumor due to loss of peristalsis or paralysis of the segment of a colon. So that is called as megacolon. It is one of the important complication of the ulcerative colitis. Inflammation of eye or joints or liver is also one of the commonest complication. As I said, it is a genetic or environmental disease, and in which there is inflammation in the body. So this inflammation can occur anywhere in the body. So the more likely organs which can get involved are eyes, joints, and livers. There are chances of hemorrhage. There is possibility of fistulae, and the most vulnerable complication of ulcerative colitis is these patients can land up into colonic cancer. Differential diagnosis, it can be dysentery, it can be inflammatory bowel disease, it can be ischemic colitis. We will see the difference between inflammatory bowel disease and irritable bowel syndrome. Ischemic colitis, it is common in elderly, and as the term itself signifies, there can be a hypotension or there can be a systemic circulation failure, and that failure can lead to ischemia to the colon, and due to that ischemic colitis can happen. So basically, irritable bowel disease or inflammatory bowel disease and irritable bowel syndrome. So what is the difference between two? So IBD is mostly it can be a Crohn's disease or it can be ulcerative colitis. IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. So IBD, that is inflammatory bowel disease, symptoms are usually diarrhea, bloody stools, there is cramping pain in the abdomen while passing stool, there can be history of fever, there is weight loss, there is fatigue, and there are other extra gut symptoms, and those extra gut symptoms include skin rashes, inflamed eyes, joint pain, in some of the cases. In case of irritable bowel syndrome, diarrhea is predominant. Even constipation can be there, or there can be alternating diarrhea and constipation. There are chances of abdominal cramps, but bloating is more in case of irritable bowel syndrome. When we look into the investigations, blood test, reflex, anemia in case of inflammatory bowel disease, there are chances of getting raised inflammatory markers like CRP can be raised in case of inflammatory bowel disease, and when we do colonoscopy or biopsy, inflammation is prominent. In case of irritable bowel syndrome, the blood parameters are usually normal. Sometimes there can be weight loss in case of irritable bowel syndrome, but usually anemia or protein loss is not found in case of irritable bowel syndrome. It is just a disturbing disease rather than causing any systemic disorder. Colonoscopy and biopsy is normal. When we come to the treatment of inflammatory bowel disease, anti-inflammatory agents are preferred, immunosuppressive agents are given, steroids are used. In case of irritable bowel syndrome, we have to look into dietary modification. We can use symptomatic treatments in terms of antidiarrheal agents. We can give antispasmodic, and we can give stool bulking agents, and antidepressants also can be proved helpful in managing irritable bowel syndrome. In case of prognosis, as I said, inflammatory bowel disease. It is a long-term condition. It requires continuous monitoring. Sometimes there is risk of colorectal cancers, and sometimes with the ulcer perforation, we may require surgery to remove that segment of the colon. So these are the prognostic features of inflammatory bowel disease. And as I said earlier, irritable bowel syndrome, it affects the quality of the life, but it is never life-threatening. There are no such fetal or the such complications in case of irritable bowel syndrome that we look into inflammatory. Like colorectal cancer risk is not there in case of IBS, where there is high risk of colorectal cancer in case of IBD. Then inflammatory bowel disease can be either Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. So we will see the difference between two inflammatory bowel diseases. One is Crohn's and one is ulcerative. So Crohn's disease, the inflammation can occur anywhere along the digestive tract. And in case of this, it's starting from the esophagus to rectum. It can occur in Crohn's disease. Whereas in ulcerative colitis, the main target location is large intestine or the colon. In case of Crohn's, whatever inflammation is there, it occurs in patches. Whereas in ulcerative colitis, inflammation is continuous throughout the affected area. In case of Crohn's, pain is mostly experienced in the lower right abdomen. In case of ulcerative colitis, the pain is more pronounced on the lower left part of the abdomen because it affects usually the descending colon on the rectal part. When we see the appearance in the Crohn's disease, the colon wall can be thickened and it can have a rocky appearance. Whereas in ulcerative colitis, colon wall becomes thinner and it shows continuous inflammation. In case of Crohn's, the ulcers, they are very deep and they can extend into the all layers of the bowel wall. Whereas in ulcerative colitis, the ulcers are superficial, they are in mucous lining of the large intestine and they do not extend beyond the inner lining. In case of Crohn's disease, bleeding from rectum during bowel movements is not common, whereas in case of ulcerative colitis, bleeding from the rectum during bowel movements is more common. So that is the differential diagnosis between Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Now, there are certain theories that says the smoking prevents ulcerative colitis. It is due to hydrogen cyanide from the cigarette, which reacts with hydrogen sulfide to produce non-toxic heliocyanate, thereby inhibiting sulfide from interrupting the pathway. So that is one of the theory. It is not a foolproof proven fact. So, but there are certain clinical trials which has been conducted to see the protective effect of smoking. And same with the appendicectomy. It is said that if we do the appendicectomy at an early age, it protects the progression of the ulcerative colitis. So it is said that it slow down the progression and there is a decreased risk of colorectal cancer if we have performed appendicectomy in the person who is already suffering from ulcerative colitis. So, what could be the probable cause for it? So, there are certain assumptions that appendix is recognized some possible important site for priming the cells involved in the development of ulcerative colitis. So, as we know, appendix is has a lymphoid follicles in it. So those lymphoid follicles get proliferated and they produce the autoantibodies against the cytoskeleton protein, which is called as tropomyosin, and this tropomyosin acts as an antigen. So that is the probable theory that the appendectomy at an early age can protect the patients of ulcerative colitis from the progression of the disease, and they can It can also prevent the chances of developing a colorectal cancer. In case of ulcerative colitis, these are the findings. CBC usually reflects anemia due to water loss. There can be altered renal function. There can be electrolyte imbalance. Then we also do liver function test to see whether there is involvement of any hepatological element or there is involvement of any bile duct pathology. We also look for serum albumin levels as an inflammatory marker. We look for ESR and CRP. Then we can go for stool microscopy culture to see whether there are any infections. Then the other radiological investigations includes endoscopy, barium enema, and we can go for CT colonogram. And according to the modern science, the management of ulcerative colitis includes aminosalicylates, corticosteroids, typhorins, methotrexate, cyclosporine. So they are just anti-inflammatory steroidal treatments, TNF, that is tissue necrosis factor antibodies reducing agent. We can go for antidiarrheal, we can go for antibacterial agents. This is regarding the gradation of the disease. The Mayo scale includes 5 grades. So, sorry, 6 grades in total, including 0. So, the 6th grade classification of the inflammation is this way: 0, there is structural changes. 1, we get chronic inflammation. In grade 2, we get presence of neutrophils in lamina propria of the intestine. In case of grade 3, neutrophils are present in epithelium. In grade 4, there is crypt destruction, and grade 5 is erosion or ulcers. And according to the severity, again, ulcerative colitis can be divided into mild to severe cases. Ulcerative proctitis is the mildest form. It is only confined to the rectum. Rectal bleeding may be the only sign of the disease. Then proctosigmoiditis, it happens in rectum and the lower part of the colon. Patients have bloody diarrhea. They can complain of cramps, pain, and tenesmus. Then left-sided colitis, it causes cramps in the left side of the abdomen, bloody diarrhea. There might be loss in weight without trying for the weight reduction. Patient have inflammation from rectum up to the left side of the colon. Then pancolitis, it affects the entire colon. It causes severe bouts of bloody diarrhea. There are abdominal cramps, there can be pain, fatigue, and major weight loss happens in case of pancolitis. And acute severe ulcerative colitis, it affects the entire colon. There can be severe pain, heavy diarrhea, bleeding, and fever. So, what are the objectives of treatment in case of ulcerative colitis? So, the objectives are three. First, we have to restore the normal bowel movements. Then, second, we have to resolve the inflammation. We have to regulate the digestion. We have to improve the metabolism. We have to improve the host defense mechanism, and we have to regulate the gut physiology. And third objective is we have to ensure general well-being. That means we have to take care of hemoglobin levels, we have to take care of serum albumin. So that includes the general well-being measures. So whatever treatment we have administered in this case, we can classify those drugs on basis of above heads. Means we can classify all drugs under few of these heads. So whatever we have given, we have ensured Deepan Pachan. For Deepan Pachan, we have given Ampachak, Mustashumki, Sanjeevni, and Takradishta. For Raktastambhak, to control the bleeding in the stool, we have given Bilvavalleha and Chandrakala. For the Grahi property, we have given Kuttajghana and Mustashulki. And as I've said, to increase the hemoglobin count, we have given Dadi Mavleha, we have given Laghu Malini Vasanto, we have given Tapyadi Loga. And for healing purpose or for restoration of the colonal mucosal lining, we have given Jatyadi Tel, Matravasti. Orally, we have given Yashti Madhu Krutam. And as I said, the treatment of Pravahika, it has been mentioned that कि यथा यथा स तैलस्यात् वातशान्तिस्तथा तथा प्रशस्ते मारुते चापि शान्तियाति प्रवाहिका. That means the way we administer Pakvashesa Teletu Bimbishinavatishtate is also one of the quote in Ayurvedic classical text, which suggests that when we administer oil in the Pakvashan, there is no way out. The disease can withstand with that treatment. So for that purpose, we had administered the Matra Basti of Jatyadi, because in classical texts, the role of Anuvasan Basti or a role of Taila in Pakwasha has been uncontroversial. It has said that when he administered Tail in Pakwasha, there is permanent cure of the disease. So for that, with that intention or with that reference, we had given Jatyadi Tel Matravasti. As we all know, Jatyadi Tel is the best Ropan Dravya. It is used for chronic non-healing ulcers or chronic non-healing wounds. And again, Gandharva Haritaki, Haritaki or Pathya is said to be a rasayan for the digestive tract. And Erandatel is again a tail which pacifies the Apan Vayu. Therefore, the role of Gandharva Haritaki remains uncontroversial in management of ulcerative colitis. Then in this particular patient, we had given Pichapasti with the help of Kutaj and Mocherus. We had taken 5 gram and we had made cloth of it. To that we had added milk and we had made a shirapa. To that we have added 20 ml of honey, 1 pinch of sandal. We added 5 gram of sitam and 20 ml of Yashti Madhu group and 5 gram of butter pulver, and we had given in a very small quantity as a patient was young and her age was less. So we have not given a full-fledged quantity of Pichavasti in this case. We just administered approximately 50 to 70 ml of Basti for her. These are the classical reference of Pichabasti, in which we use 240 ml of Yashti Madhu and Shalmari Shirapa. To that we add Yashti Madhu Kalpa, that is 40 gram, and then Jatyadi Tel 60, Yashti Madhu Tel 60, Sender 5, Madhu 80. This is a classical reference which we can use in adults. So there are references regarding the activity of Musta, Nageshwar and Yashti Madhu. There are preclinical studies which has been carried out and which affirms the role of Musta. It has got pharmacological antioxidant and genotoxic study modulation of rats splenocyte function of Cyprus rotundus, that is Musta extract, has shown the potent components such as flavonoids that may potentially be useful for modulating the immune cell functions, provoking analgesic, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant effect. Again, there has been a study on Nankeshwar which showed that ulcerative colitis associated local and systemic damage in mice was found to be ameliorated with the help of Mucia fera, that is Nankeshwar, because it has got significant action on colon mucosa. One more study on Yashti Madhu has been reviewed by me, and I could find an experimental study showed that the licorice, that is Yashti Madhu, has protected the stomach tissue of the rats from aspirin-induced damage, and it is surmised that its activity on the prostaglandin regulating enzymes must be the reason. A semi-synthetic compound called carbenoxone derived from licorice acts to protect the colon. Then I would like to mention here the other practices which are available for the treatment of ulcerative colitis. I have used Takrarishta in this patient, but I haven't used Takravasti. But there are reference of Takravasti used in ulcerative colitis. For that, we have to make a takra with the help of means by adding coriander seeds and cumin seeds, and we can also add a body shape, that is soap, what we call as, and we have to make a curd by adding all this thing, and then we can make a tucker out of it, and we can give a tucker basti. It is said that intestinal microbiota dysbiosis can be corrected by probiotics, which improve the intestinal mucosal barrier function and immune system. It enhances the secretion of anti-inflammatory factors also. And Takra is said to be Ayurvedic probiotic, and it helps to maintain the microflora of the gut in ulcerative colitis. Then other practices also include the use of Shiri Buksha Kashai. So it has been mentioned in Sushruta Samhita that whenever there is excessive Rakta Pravrutti or excessive blood loss, we have to go for Shiri Buksha Kashai Basti. And for that Shiri Buksha, we have Vata, Udumbar, Ashwatha, Parish and Plaksha. So we can make a Kashai Basti out of it, and we can use that Kashai Siddha Basti for the control of bleeding through rectum. And we can also use Vatankur Siddha Kshir. For that we need to take 10 Vatankurs, and we have to make a Kshir as per Shirapak Vidhi, and we can administer that kheer through Basti route for the definite results. Also, one of the Basti which has been used by the practitioner is the Tez Basti, or you can call it as a mandal. We have to take one bowl of rice, and we have to add 6 parts of water, and we have to make a kind of peya tandoor out of it, and then we can give that thing as a basti for the management of ulcerative colitis. One more reference from Beni Madhu Shastri, they had used Parna Beach churno for the management of ulcerative colitis. As we know, Parna Beach is Kashai Rasatmak, so it helps in like it reduces the bleeding, and it is said to be effective single drug for the management of alimentary canal disorders according to Reni Madhav Shastri. So these are the some of the references which are there in case of ulcerative colitis. Then again in Sushruta Samhita, we get the reference of Ambashtadi Gan and Pipalyadi Gan. Again, this Ambashtadi Gan and Pipalyadi Gan, they are helpful when profuse discharge of blood and mucus occurs. So, in case of acute stage of ulcerative colitis, we can think about this Ambashtadi Gan and Pipalyadi Gan. So, so far, whatever we have discussed, what are the goals achieved in this particular patient? Though there was no complete remission of the disease, but the disease was well in control with the line of treatment what we had administered. There was decrease in pain. The quality of life of that patient was improved. The interval between two episodes were lengthened. The weight of the patient was maintained. There was no evidence of nutritional deficiency. Anemia was recovered, and patient was able to perform her daily activities with due energy. So this way the goal achieved in this treatment. Here I would like to share the uh, video of that particular patient. You can say as a testimony.
Hello, ma'am. Video is not audible.
Actually, it's in full volume actually, but maybe that volume is little less. I hope you could hear the video because I think the volume was very less. But I just tried to uh, give you a insight of a patient how relieved her parents felt after the Ayurvedic line of treatment, and how happy that girl was because earlier her mom used to restrict her to the house, and she used to like not letting her out to play and all, but with the help of Ayurvedic treatment, she could gain weight, she could gain her immunity. So she was allowed to go out and play with the other children. So that was the I should say that was the main achievement in this case. That girl was very happy with the Ayurvedic treatment, and even parents were little relieved from the on and off admissions, recurrent abdominal pain, recurrent infection, and recurrent cold and cough. So all that got relieved with the help of Ayurvedic treatment, and that is the success of this case. So this is the reason why I could like I choose this case for the presentation. You could have heard that patient has gone to the gastroenterologist. She has gone to various hospitals, big names, big doctors, but still they could not offer a significant relief for her. But with the help of Ayurvedic treatment, we could give that relief to the patient, and that is the beauty of Ayurveda. I think I have explained everything regarding this case, and now I think anyone if has any queries, they can kindly raise their questions.
Very great. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful lecture. Uh, Now I declare the session is open for question answers. I request all delegates to put their questions in everyone section of chat box. No direct questions will be allowed. Ma'am, we will wait for a minute and then start the question answer session.
I could see few of the messages in chat box regarding sound is not clear. I hope that was clear in the latter period.
Just video sound was not there, ma'am. Else all okay.
You could not hear the video absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. There
It
was no
wasn't.
sound.
Oh, okay. I'm extremely sorry for that because I could hear the sound. Don't know why that doesn't get reflected in the system.
Oh, it should be right.
Yeah, I could see one question over
Yes.
here. Will Panchamrit Parpati or Swarna Parpati will work in ulcerative colitis? Basically, I have chosen Kutaj Parpati in this case because my main intention was to reduce the watery motions. We can use Panchamrit Parpati if it is a typical case of Grahani, because as we know, Parpati has got Grahani as its Rogadikar. Swarna Parpati is used when we don't get relief with Panchamrut Parpati. I had used Kutaj Parpati in this case. Definitely, we can think about Panchamrut Parpati if we don't get result with Kutaj Parpati, and then again we can switch over to Swarna Parpati if we need in that case. But being a patient, means considering the age of the patient, I avoided Swarna Parpati and Panchamrut Parpati. I just stuck to the Kutaj Parpati, and basically the symptoms were more of a Draumal Pravritti rather than symptoms like puti gandha and then a baddha or sometimes drava or baddha. These typical features of grahani were not present all the time. They were there sometimes, but not all the times. So I preferred Kutaj Parpati in view of Stambhan to reduce the Dravamal Pravritti in this case.
Thank you, ma'am.
Which drugs will help?
Ma'am, I will take questions for you, ma'am. The next question is
Pardon?
from Dr. Deep. Which drugs will help to improve the Tatvagni Mandal?
See, I have mentioned here Musta Shunti, Ampachan, even Sanjeevani, they are all best Deepan Pachan Dravyas. So it's like Dhatvagni Mandya can be get relieved with the help of the drugs which acts on Jataragni, because basically Jataragni is the one who gives stimulation to all Dhatvagnis also. So once we can improve the Jataragni, it is definitely going to boost the Dhatvagni. So we don't miss. There are certain references regarding the drugs which acts on Dhatvagni Mandya. Specifically for Dhatuga Jwar, they have given certain kashayas, and it has been said that those kashayas act on those particular Dhatvagni Mandya. But here in this case, I just used Ampachak and Mustashunti as Deepan Pachan, and these Deepan Pachan Dravyas only helped me to treat the Dhatvagni Mandya present in this case. I didn't use any Dhatugat Kashai or any Kashai which are mentioned in Jwar Dhatugat Avastha.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. The next question is from Dr. Namrata. Sukshekar Ras Pravad Panchamrut Vati can we use in ulcerative colitis?
See, basically the concept of using Sutshekaras is a best drug for the Amla Pitta. So, as we know, the Samprapti of Amla Pitta, it is said that the Dravagun of Pitta, when it increases, that time we have to go for Sutshekaras. So, it basically acts on the Dravatva of Pitta. So, as we know, in case of Amla Pitta, the Pitta can get vitiated by its Ushna Tikshna gun, or it can get vitiated by increasing Dravatva of that Pitta. So Amla Pitta is a disease of increased Dravatva, and in that particular phase we use Sutshekar to reduce the Dravatva of the Pitta. So here in this case I had used Chandrakala Ras because it is a base drug which acts as a Raktastambhak also, and it is best Pitta Shamak also. Therefore, instead of going for Sutshekar Ras, I used Chandrakala Ras as a Pittagna Dravya, as it acts both on Pitta as well as it acts best as Raktastambhak Dravya. Prava
Thank you, ma'am.
Panchamrut again, Prava Panchamrut, Kamdudaras, they are used when the Ushnatva and Tikshnatva of Pitta is increased. So whenever Daha is a predominant feature, that time we go for Prava Panchamrut Ras. So I think I have used I have used Cambudarus in this case when patient had complained about epigastric pain and all. So basically, my assumptions are when the Dravatva of Pitta is increased, we have to go for Surchekhar. When Ushnatva and Tikshnatva is increased and Daha is predominant feature, that time we have to go for Kanduda and Prava Panchamut. And as we know, Prava Panchamut has got all Samudrik Dravya and it helps in the absorption of excessive secretions in the stomach. So when we are when Shoshan is expected, that time we can go for Prava Panchamut ras, and when Dravatva of Pitta we have to reduce, we can go for Sudshekhar, and when we have to reduce the Ushnatva and Tikshnatva and Dama, we can use Kambuda and Chandrakala ras.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Next question is,
Yeah,
ma'am, as there is a bleeding and Sanjeevani में
yeah,
वत्सना भट्ट होने
yeah, yeah.
बंद
Basically, Sanjeevani Vati I used in this case because patient had fever and patient had got blood in sorry mucus in stools. So there is Vatsana which can cause increase in bleeding, but it's like I had not used Sanjeevani Vati alone. Means with Sanjeevani Vati, I had used Raktastambhak Dravya, so I was pretty sure that the Sanjeevani Vati won't cause any side effects because I had used Sanjeevani Vati with an intention to cure the jwar and to cure the mucus which is present in the stool. Actually, if a patient means if a patient is having a severe burning sensation, that time we should not go for Sanjeevani because that can cause increase in burning sensation. And so when patient came to me at an initial stage, there were no symptoms of burning sensation in chest or stomach. So I confidently used Sanjeevani to reduce the jwar and to get rid of mucus which was present in the stool. And as I
Okay, ma'am.
said, I wasn't using Sanjeevani as a single drug. I was administering Chandrakala Ras also along with that. So maybe that took care of the bleeding complication which can happen due to Sanjeevani.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. That was the last question from this session. Now I declare the today's session is over. Delegates and speaker can leave the meeting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.